As soon as a wrestler becomes a star, that's it. That's who they are, for better or worse. I mean, if you ever see Fandango wrestling as Curtis Hussey, what are you going to chant at him? You're going to rip into him for once being a ballroom dancer. Man, when you say that out loud, all those years of work. Ballroom dancer. In many ways, that's a tribute to those involved. They've managed to get to a point where they're established, but it also means any cameo roles vanish into the abyss and become trivia for people like us to enjoy. With that in mind, I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 10 wrestlers you didn't realise wrestled for WWE in 1997. Number 10. Chris Candido. Given that in 1996 Chris Candido was one of the body donners, you wouldn't be too surprised if you never saw him in a WWE ring again. Why would he ever want to return to the place that gave him a gimmick of, you love fitness and you especially love doing star jumps? Well, champ material that. So when he quit the company that year following a falling out with the Clique, that was surely it, especially as he'd reinvent himself and do pretty darn well. And yet in 1997 he just popped up on an episode of Raw. Not only that, but he also fought non-WWE wrestler Brian Christopher, who would later have a run in the company for real as Grandmaster Sexay. To make this even more strange, this all went down only 9 days after he'd had a match for the ECW title against Terry Funk. Bizarre. Number 9. The Fantastics. In the mid-80s, Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton were known as the Fantastics. They were also awesome. Having great matches with nearly everyone they faced, the pair were so good they even got compliments from ZZ Top, the band they had chosen to use for their entrance music. That's pretty good going. And then on the same episode of Raw where Candido just turned up, so did Rogers and Fulton, where the two went head-to-head. Rogers took the win, and to this day, no one really knows why this happened. Number 8. Rhino. Before Rhino became Rhino, he was a regular WWE enhancement talent performing under the name Terry Richards, mainly being used to put other guys over. When WWF Shotgun rolled into his home city of Detroit on 23rd of June 1997, he was indeed used on TV as part of a 6-man tag match. He of course lost with 2 other people to the Truth Commission. Number 7. Mantar. Remember Mantar? Don't. Forget him as quickly as possible. It's one of those gimmicks that's only going to haunt your dreams for years to come. But even though he seemingly disappeared from the WWE in July 1995, although he did pop up briefly in 1996 as a bodyguard for Goldust of all people, he was actually on TV in 1997, only you would never have known. Working under a mask as Tank, he was part of the aforementioned Truth Commission, meaning his run of roles in the company were awful. Even then he didn't last long. He'd been replaced before the summer was over. Number 6. Tajiri. On a brief tangent, Tajiri's run during the Attitude Era with William Regal is vastly underrated. Go watch some of his skits on the network. Man, is entertainment gold. Before he made a name for himself in ECW though, Tajiri had already appeared on WWE TV in, you guessed it, 1997. As Vince and friends realised they have to come up with something to battle WCW's cruiserweights, the always problematic light heavyweight division was born. To try and give it a shot in the arm, Taka Michinoku, the Great Sasuke and your green mist spitting power were all brought in. Working, and losing, a succession of matches to both Taka and the returning to this list Brian Christopher, Tajiri was only 3 years into his career when he made his WWE debut. Not bad going. Number 5. Crowbar. Before he was throwing himself around in WCW, Crowbar was known as Devon Storm and still loved to fling his body in any direction he could. Happening at a time where non-WWE wrestlers competed on WWE shows, which I guess isn't too dissimilar to the Cruiserweight Classic. Storm took on the horrendously named Ace Darling, who also happened to be his tag partner on the indie scene, on the July 28th episode of Raw. Storm won. So that was good. Number 4. Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn will always be damned amazing. Underrated by the big leagues from the moment he made a name for himself to this very day, even though he's retired. He could work any type of style with any type of wrestler. He was the man. While he shone brightest in ECW and Ring of Honor, he did first appear in the WWE in the crazy year of 1997 on a taping of Friday Night's Main Event. For those that enjoy trivia, it was a show that aired when Raw had a hiatus because of the US Open tennis coverage. Damn tennis. Number 3. Mo. Poor Mo. Whoever talks about Mo? Whenever anyone mentions Men on a Mission, people's thoughts go straight to Mabel, and it was his awful run as King Mabel that kinda screwed both parties up anyway in 1996. In September 1997, at a house show match in Nashville the night before In Your House Ground Zero, however, Mo came out as Buzz, where he beat some schmo for the victory. Unfortunately, he was then never seen again, although Mabel would come back as Viscera. Number 2. Super Crazy. You gotta give it to Super Crazy. If you're trying to sell the idea of a wrestler to someone just on their name alone, Super Crazy does a pretty damn good job. In the fall of 1997, the Insane One did make an appearance to, of course, help out with the ever-growing light heavyweight scene. Taking on and losing to El Pantera and Brian Christopher, there he is again, on WWF Shotgun, he also stared at the lights for Aguila in an opening night tournament match a couple of months later. Like a lot of people on this list, he then went and kicked all the ass in ECW. Number 1. Paul Roma. You remember Paul Roma, right? He looked a bit like Ken Shamrock's Italian brother. After getting fired from WCW when he decided he didn't want to go along with what pro wrestling was and went into business for himself, Roma vanished from the spotlight. But in the 1997 WWF, everyone seemingly was allowed to have a shot. In December, Roma worked 2 house show matches and in one actually beat Nick Barbary, who no one knows or remembers. Alas, that was it for Paul, and he disappeared into the night once more. Who else just decided they'd like to turn up on WWE TV in 1997? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Then come and join the social media party with me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from What Culture, and I'll chat to you again soon.
Titan Screwed is the final book in the Titan trilogy, acclaimed for providing fans with rare backstage and insider stories from mid-90s WWE, a time of turbulence, wrestlers infighting, and ultimately betrayal. Written by James Dixon and Justin Henry, Titan Screwed covers 1997, featuring in-depth stories about Steve Austin nearly paralysing himself at SummerSlam, WWF forming a brief partnership with ECW, and of course, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and the Montreal Screwjob, which has never received better coverage than in this book. As with all merch, Titan Screwed can be picked up at shop.whatculture.com.